Grace and peace be with you. And welcome to Dysart United Methodist Church. It is the third Sunday in Lent, and we continue with our theme of listen, praying in a noisy world. I want to congratulate you. There were, according to the ushers' count, there were 73 people here last week, and we were close to that in those that filled out the pew pads. So it wasn't 100% yet, but it was pretty close. So I invite you now to look for a pew pad. And the choir, when you come up, look for a pew pad. We want 100%. And ushers, don't forget to find a pew pad. And you'll notice in the pew pads, it says name. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Address, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Telephone, that is also pretty self-explanatory. And zip code. Now, that probably doesn't need to be filled out because we can figure out the zip code. But address and telephone number, we can't figure out. So please be a good role model. You're going to say, you have my address. I haven't moved in 50 years. So you must have my address, but your neighbor we may not know your neighbor's address. So just get in the habit of filling out your address so that when the pew pad gets passed down, because not every Sunday are you sitting next to someone that you know. And in fact, if you plan to grow, you should anticipate that there's going to be somebody sitting next to you that you may not know and you don't know their address. And it's not that you're stopping and memorizing the address. It's just that those that are new in the congregation are trying to figure out, what do I do here today? I don't know what the people here do. I know what they did in my home church. I know what they did in my other church, but I don't know yet what they do here. So I'm going to be watching what other people do, and I'm going to do that. So please, let's try to get 100% today, because I think we can do it, because it's an achievable thing. And so please try to fill in all of the information that they're asking for. And if you need to have more than one line, go ahead, because I don't think you're going to fill up that whole that whole page. And email address, cell phone numbers, and that sort of thing. This morning, so anyway, thank you. I want to thank you ahead of time, because I know how appreciative, you know how appreciative we are of, especially in the office, for filling that out. Please also open up the bulletin, and it's not nearly as full as last week, but there is sermon notes for further reflection, and those are the questions for this week. We ran out of study books. You picked them up last week, so that's really, really good. So I'll order some more. Because Rita's going to be also offering this study starting the Sunday after Confirmation Sunday. So she'll be starting it on April 19th, and it'll go until May 24th. So I'll order some more, and they'll be on the back table. So on that back table where there's the cross and the purple cloth, there is also our copies of the upper room, if you didn't pick that up. Are there any announcements that you have this morning? Any announcements? Any announcement cards this morning, the white cards? Okay. There is a white announcement card. Yay! Oh. I think I will use this during the prayer time. Okay, thank you. Excellent. I'll use this during prayers, and I'll put it where I can find it this morning. Well, this morning we also have an opportunity for today's mission moment, and today's mission moment video is about the United Methodist Committee on Relief Depot in Sager Brown, and so I want you to watch this short video.
At the sound of the morning bell, volunteers from all across the United States gather for morning prayer, breakfast, and instructions before starting their day of mission at the Umpqua Sager Brown Depot in Baldwin, Louisiana. Dedicated volunteers fill the depot floor to assemble supplies that help Umpqua provide relief where it is needed most. But they also find that they too are being fulfilled in serving and are receiving much more in return.
One of the neatest things about coming here is realizing that the work we do here in a week benefits people all over the world for years to come. They get items they wouldn't otherwise normally get, and we're able to help. This is kind of the culmination of where everything comes from.
There's a lot of people that will come down here and think there's absolutely nothing they can do, and I guarantee you by Tuesday lunchtime they've got their sleeves rolled up and they're busy. So you know, no matter what kind of experience you've had in your life or how young or how old you are, I guarantee you'll have a good time at Sager Brown.
Umpqua Sager Brown has distributed in value more than $40 million of relief supplies to more than 30 countries and has hosted some 16,000 volunteers who do an array of volunteer work.
What we do here mostly is work on the facilities. Occasionally we go out and work in the community on various homes that need some work.
Umpqua Sager Brown volunteers are the heart of Umpqua's mission to bring relief to the world's most vulnerable populations. And while their volunteer experience at the depot may only last a week or so in any given year, the personal rewards of service to their neighbors around the globe lasts a lifetime.
The feeling that you get when you leave, you know that you've received much more than you've ever given.
And the reason I showed you that this morning is because next Sunday is One Great Hour of Sharing. And part of One Great Hour, the monies that go to One Great Hour of Sharing allow for everything that we send to a specific ministry. Like if it was specifically for Sager Brown, it's going to go to Sager Brown. But there is upkeep and administration costs involved in the United Methodist Committee on Relief, and there's only one place that money comes from, and that's One Great Hour of Sharing. Now, the other thing about that is we have a few people that have been in our congregation that have been there. It's been a while, but it was a good experience that they had. Lowell and Julie and Arlene and Rich went a number of years ago. It's probably at the very least 8 or 9 years ago. Could be even more. But it runs on volunteers. All those kits that we collect, they have to be gone through, they have to be packaged. And you also heard one of the gentlemen say that they don't just stay there inside, and no, Arlene and Richard are right back there. Some people don't stay inside and sew or pack the kits. Some people go out into the community and actually help build homes, build ramps for homes, and that sort of thing. So if your idea of a mission trip is to go and help people outside, that's also. I'm going to be checking to see if there's any openings around this time next year so that maybe some members of our church might be able to go and experience what it's like to be in ministry outside of our community. We are a people gathered together by a sign, and that sign is the water of our baptism. It is a sign that we are God's reconciled and forgiven people. And as God's reconciled and forgiven people, let us worship God. Please stand as you're able and join with me in our call to worship. People of God, we are here in this sacred space, in this sacred moment. Briefly, leave daily concerns aside, for here we will recall the stories of faith. Here we are awed by the glory of God, who made heaven and earth, yet knows us by name. Here we remember whose we are. Please remain standing as you're able for our hymn, Spirit of Gentleness. It's found in the black hymnal, number 2120. The words will be up on the screen, and you may also find it, as I said, in the black hymnal. and you may be seated. You just sang the whole story of salvation, from the very beginning to the very end of Acts, where the men had dreams and the women saw visions and the young and the old were wakened by the Spirit. And now we have a responsive reading from Psalm 19. The psalmist's hymn of praise to God Creator, the heavens, stars and meteors, planets and supernovas, are telling the glory of God, the firmament. Mountains and deserts, oceans and rivers, proclaim God's handiwork. The day speaks. In the wordless voice of creation. The nights proclaim knowledge of God. These voices ring out through all the world, resounding through all time, into all the ends of the earth. The sun encircles the earth with joy. As the bridegroom embraces his community with his joy. Nothing is concealed from this radiance. The law of God is like the sun. Nothing is hidden from it. It revives our souls and grants us wisdom. What God perceives brings joy to our hearts. What God decrees brings light to our lives. We are awed by the nature of God, and when we see what is true and righteous, we desire these truths more than gold and all the sweet things of the earth. These are the things onto which we will firmly hold. Is that God will look upon us as blameless and innocent of transgression. Let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, our God, our rock and our Redeemer. And please join with me in our prayer. As all creation sings praises to God today, we lift our voices to join the choir. We sing of the joy and glory of being embraced by the God of light. We sing of the sweetness of being held in love by the God of justice. We sing with voices filled with awe, knowing that we have a place in your realm that is no less than that of the stars in the heavens, and we are grateful. Amen. And I wonder if the children would please want to join me up front. And we've got some exploring to do today. Any others this morning? Anybody else want to come up? Okay. All right. Before worship, I asked you to think about questions. Do you have any questions? No? But what do you do when you have questions? You raise your hand. Yeah, in class, that's what you do, right? When you're in school, you raise your hand. What if you're not in school and you have some questions? Who do you usually go to? Mom or dad, and they answer your questions, and they search out like they search out the answer sometimes for you. Sometimes we use a magnifying glass to search things out. And what's so different nowadays about searching out questions, and your mom and dad probably do this, and your teacher does this, is they search. Oh, we went down. The internet went down here, but. They search, sometimes they do Google searches. That's a new